Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Sana po nakapahinga kayo, nakatulog ng maayos. Hindi katulad ng Kuya Cito na puyat na matching dahil sa mga may umaali-aligid sa paligid. Okay, nothing to worry about. You know, it's part of the Filipino life that when dogs howl, there are only two things. You look for something natural or sabi nga nung aking executive producer, ano yun, anong tawag mo, nocturnal ba yun or something dito sa Pilipinas kung hindi magnanakaw, mumu. I'm going to control myself and not say that phrase. Today is March 24, 2021. It's a Wednesday. I hope that you have had time to read the Bible, say your prayers, and especially during these hard, trying, and dangerous times, I hope that you have spent a little time sitting down with your wife, your parents, with your children, your best friend, BFF, kung sino man, pati na yung kasama nyo sa bahay, katulong ninyo, to express your gratitude, appreciation for them. Because trust me, lahat po ng pinaghihirapan nating mga ari-arian, bandang huli ay mawawala. All your material goods are of no consequence if you get hit by COVID-19 because once you get that, the only thing you will be praying for is that God would spare you and heal you. Kami po, yung anak ko, tinamaan na ng COVID-19, awa ng Diyos, and I say that in the full context of that, awa ng Diyos, by God's mercy, she was asymptomatic. So let's all be thankful for our loved ones and be grateful and show and express our gratitude above all to the Lord God Almighty. Okay, yan po, no? Kasi kahapon medyo naisip ko lang mga kaibigan, ano? We'll all die. We will all die at one point or another. And you have to ask yourself, okay, kung ako ay dadanas ng hirap, if I will face trials, tribulations, etc., wouldn't it be an ideal setup if, like Saint Paul, okay, the Apostle Paul, you die in service of God, promoting God, worshiping God. Kasi yung iba, bandang huli, sasabihin, Diyos ko po. Okay, baka sabihin nyo, si Kuya Cito nagiging preacher na. Hindi naman po. We need to be open about our faith and share our faith. Today, we will have two guests, parehong may sense of humor. Isa po ay si Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. He's a regular on agenda and kumisan kabiruan ko. And another one is Mayor Alfred Romualdez. We have history because we were together during Yolanda. Medyo pahabol akong dumating sa Tacloban noon, and we go to the same church, and dun naman siya sa Tacloban, ako sa Pasig, and here in Lipa. And we have faced some of the challenges in life together. So, kumbaga, may history. Si Jonathan Malaya, media rin yan dati. So, we will speak with Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya regarding the travel bubble. Paumanhin na po kasi I call it the aquarium, not the travel bubble. I will try to explain that later, okay? And we will speak to Mayor Alfred Romualdez of Tacloban regarding, he's now in the center of the criticism universe kasi nagpabakuna raw siya ahead of everybody. May maganda pong kwento yan kasi even before the storm blew up, he had already called me and told me what happened and why he had himself vaccinated. Nagkikwentuhan lang kami, malay ko bang lumaki na parang indulto yan na dalawang cabinet secretary, he should be investigated, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we will go to that, but panawagan lang po sa mga kinaukulan. I just noticed in the recent press conferences of Malacanang, pressers, si Carl Chua, yung sa NEDA ba, siya po ay acting NEDA secretary pa rin. Pero in all things economic and NEDA related, we go to him because he's the most competent. Why don't you guys just make him secretary? Puro naman, hindi ba nyo matanggap na may bata na magaling, na kasing galing nyo o mas magaling sa inyo? Let's make him. Tapos itong si Jonathan Malaya, OIC. Okay, ang dami po kasi sa gobyerno, kung hindi acting, OIC. They get all the work, they have all the responsibility, but they don't get the position officially. Anyway, hindi ko naman po minamasama yung ibang yung mga may sakit, etc. But sometimes, we all need to face the fact that if you're sick, you're sick. If you're ill, and if you're old, you're old. Park it and rest it. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. Okay, I don't know. Are we on? I think we have a delay or we are having a problem here. Let's check. Okay, there you go. The health department is urging local government units to expand their temporary isolation and treatment facilities as hospital beds in Metro Manila continue to get occupied or fill up. Okay. Yan po yung mga quarantine stations, mga hotels, motels. Magtulungan na po tayo dyan. Kailangan po kasi niyan. Next up, the Philippine National Police Office or Officer in Charge, PNP Officer in Charge, Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar, makes it clear that there would be no travel checkpoints within the so-called NCR Plus bubble. Yan po, we will speak to Yusek Malaya about that kasi kahapon po while I was monitoring the news through different channels and stations on radio, nakakatawang nakakaasar po kasi meron ng isang checkpoint, tinanong nung reporter, alam po ba ninyo na pag nasa loob ng ganitong area, hindi na kailangan maghanap ng papel o harangin, etc.? We will correct the situation once we get the memo. Obviously, someone did not get the memo. Ayan, okay? Ayan po yun eh. May kasabihan tayo sa Tagalog, nauuna ang bibig, imbis na ang gawa. Okay, still on COVID-19. The Metro Manila Council has decided to keep gyms, spas, and internet cafes closed as part of the efforts to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Word is kasi may paring pumalag o may bishop na pumalag. Teka, inuunan nyo kaming isara o i-lockdown yung mga simbahan, ba't yung mga gym, mga spa, pinayagan ninyong nakabukas? Yun po, biglang sara. So, problema yan. Okay. Meanwhile, senators are calling for a revamp and expansion of the Interagency Task Force or IATF as they push for more involvement of medical experts and the private sector in the country's vaccine program. Alam niyo po, hindi naman po sa pagmamalaki or nagmamagaling, pero I wrote about that in my column in the Philippine Star a few months back where I said we cannot continue in a situation where the IATF is a task force level. We are facing a national health crisis, a global pandemic, and right now it is even worse, okay? So I had suggested that you make it a national, parang kumbaga an office, an institution, hindi yung task force lang. Kasi pag mayroon ka ng office or institution or center, whatever, medyo formal na at saka may required expertise na. Hindi yung porke cabinet secretary ka or kaibigan ka ng presidente or ikaw ay retired so-and-so, ilalagay ka doon. Let professionals handle the problem. So I think that should be the guidance of the parties involved. Wag naman po yung banatan, kasi sa akin personally, The IATF has done a lot of good things. They have served the country. And sadly, yes, may mga sablay, may mga pasabit. And I guess pinakamasahol ng problema sa IATF is communication. Oftentimes the right hand does not know what the left hand is doing or what they're communicating. Like itong travel bubble na ito. Nauna yung bibig, pero yung mga nasa babang haharap sa madla ay hindi pa alam yung dapat magagawa. Okay, so speaking of ano ang magagawa, let's go to our first guest, Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya, who is now the officer in charge of the DILG. Sir, good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning, Sir Cito. But let me clarify, I am not the officer in charge of the DILG. It's
No,
Undersecretary Bernardo Florese.
Ay, nako, eto na, yan na nga sinasabi ko eh. Depende sa papakinggan ko, babasahin ko, nahihilo na ako eh.
But thank you for the promotion.
Ay, anytime. You deserve it. You deserve it, John. Anyway, Yusek, medyo liwanagin lang natin, ano, and we're all humans and we're all faced with the crisis. So kung minsan nagmamadali, pero ang daming pumupuna sa IATF ngayon. Kasi sabi nga, and I'm taking, I will take responsibility for the statement. Nauuna yung bibig kaysa sa gawa. And in the last 2 days, they declared the travel bubble. And obviously, a lot of people on the ground didn't understand the concept and were not clear on the application. What has happened in the last 2 years, in the last 2 days as far as you know?
Okay. Well, una-una, Sir Cito, bilisan po talaga yung mga desisyon. No, because we had a rising number of cases. So we did not have the luxury of time. No? Normally, if we have new policies, you would give 2 or 3 days for the information to cascade sa baba. And then we make so that people can make adjustments in their travel plans and also in the implementation. This time it was different because of the sudden increase in cases. No, we saw it from 5,000 and became 7,000. So there was a meeting of the IATF. I think it was on a Saturday night. It was decided to move away from the circuit breaker, kasi that was the first approach, no?
Mm-hmm.
Circuit breaker, and to move towards the travel bubble. So this was discussed on a Saturday night in the IATF, and the next day, immediately, meetings were held with the PNP and with the Metro Manila mayors for coordination in the morning of Sunday. Okay, and then since there were already a lot of speculations across the country, and copies of the IATF resolution were all over the place already. So the Spokes Harry had to make the announcement as soon as the president approved the IATF resolution. So this was a matter of 24 hours. So Spokes Harry on a Sunday around 4 or 5 made the official announcement that the travel bubble will start at midnight of Sunday going into Monday. So pag ganun kasi, Sir Cito, talagang there will always be gaps along the way because we did not have the luxury of time. We needed to act fast to arrest the increase in the number of cases. So I think there were a little, siguro mga 1 or 2 checkpoints within the bubble who did not get the proper memo about how to implement.
Kasi they did not get the memo.
Yeah, I myself was surprised because we during the meeting it was discussed that the checkpoints would be in the boundaries of Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal with their provincial neighbors, not with Metro Manila.
Yeah,
that's around 20. No, more than 20. It was identified to us by the Joint Task Force COVID Shield, so that was clear. There are supposed to be checkpoints within the bubble, which is within Metro Manila, but the purpose of those checkpoints were for the implementation of minimum health standards. They were never supposed to stop people from moving within Metro Manila because the concept of a bubble is that people can still move inside. So, kaagad-agad naman po, Sir Cito, this was addressed yesterday. and all of those checkpoints have been pulled out already. They are
Okay.
now only there at night to implement the curfew.
Mhm. Yusek John, you came from media yourself, so you understand well kung paano umisip ang tao and paano gumalaw ang media. And speaking of that, no checkpoints within the bubble and only health protocols. Kasi parang we are dealing with three concepts right now. One is understanding what this travel bubble is, number one. Number two is understanding, well, we all know what the health protocols are, number two. But number three, parang nasabay ngayon yung issue ng APORs or authorized persons outside of residence. Kasi we need to be, transparent about it. Niluwagan natin eh. And we should, akuhin na nating lahat, no? Including myself. Niluwagan natin yung restrictions. They started allowing people to move in Metro Manila particularly. But apparently this last 2 days, nagkasitahan na and medyo maraming taong, bibili lang ako, pupunta ako sa doktor ko, may babayaran ako. And so the issue of the APORs was not emphasized and mukhang doon nagkakasitahan at nagkakapikunan.
Yeah, that's why yesterday, the first day of the implementation of the bubble, no, yesterday kaagad ito, we immediately made clear to the Philippine National Police that they have to, cascade properly the concept of a bubble to their personnel on the ground. And si OIC Chief PNP General Eliasar himself went around and gave instructions to the men, and he also made public pronouncements on media about how we're supposed to implement the travel bubble. So na-address na po ito, Sir Cito. As I said, we did not have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
There are all the people on the ground who will have their own interpretation. I think the explanation of the travel bubble was very clear. Si Spox Harry made it very clear. But people will always... ang nangyari kasi dito, Sir Cito, there are two conflicting concepts.
Yeah.
The first concept is travel is allowed within the bubble. Okay. Okay. But the second conflicting concept is mass gatherings are not allowed within the bubble, and we recommend that people stay at home within the bubble. So parang hindi malaman ng tao kung ano ba talaga. But ganun talaga. That's really the reality because we cannot make policy for an individual. We can only make policy for the community. And kumbaga, we leave it to the person already na kung hindi naman mahalaga yung lakad mo, okay, huwag ka nang lumabas. Ngayon, kung talagang gusto mong mag-staycation ngayon sa Metro Manila or sa Laguna for Holy Week, for example, Holy Week next
Naku,
week.
binanggit mo yung staycation na yan, Yusek John.
Okay.
Ang daming nag-react dyan. Ano bang klaseng quarantine niya na may staycation pa? I'm just expressing it, Yusek John, no? Para at least maintindihan.
Yes, so technically, staycations are allowed, of course, no? Kasi hindi naman tayo, we're not stopping people from moving out. This is not a lockdown. A lockdown would have been, gaya nung last year, na may mga checkpoints tayo sa barangay, hindi ka na makakalabas sa barangay mo lang kung wala kang quarantine pass. So since wala namang lockdown ngayon, if you want to go to Laguna, to Pansol and swim, you can, but you cannot bring your whole barangay with you because that would become a mass gathering. That would become a public gathering. So, kayong pamilya for Holy Week, kayo lang na immediate family because visiting your family, other family members outside of their organic nuclear family is not allowed. So, kaya nalilito ang tao, Sir Cito, it's because we have this two conflicting concepts behind it. We want people to stay at home, but technically they can move around the bubble area.
Kumbaga, the government wants to be considerate. The government does not want to totally restrict the freedom of mobility. Pero at the same time, meron pa rin tayong concept ng authorized persons outside of residence. So medyo parang, ewan ko Yusek John, ayoko mapahama ka kasi I can already see some people writing down what you're saying and planning to stab you in the back later today. Kasi sasabihin, ano bang klaseng bubble yan? Di, pwede akong pumunta sa pansol, kasama ko yung girlfriend ko, o pwede akong pumunta sa pansol, kasama ko yung lolo ko o yung nanay ko, pero hindi ako pwedeng lumabas pag ako ay 65 and above or 18 and below. It's so confusing already, Yusek John.
Again, let me emphasize, no, the concept of the uproar relates to people who want to move through the borders of the bubble. So if
Only through the borders of the
yes,
bubble.
yes,
Inside the bubble, pwede silang gumalaw.
yes, because economic activity continues within the bubble. That is why restaurants are open for for takeout. That is why malls are open, except for the for spas, for some certain establishments within the malls. So we have not stopped the economy. That's why we kept on emphasizing this is not a lockdown. There is
Mhm.
no lockdown. The economy has to move on. Kasi alam mo naman, Sir Cito, no? Secretary Carl Chua yesterday just
Yeah.
discussed it very clearly to everybody.
No, and it was very, compliments to Carl Chua. He was very honest about it and very concerned na may mga tao nang nagugutom sa loob ng Metro Manila na
Yeah.
hindi tatagal kung hindi sila makakatrabaho.
Yeah, so sasadsad na po ang ating ekonomiya if we keep on resorting to large-scale lockdowns. So the
Mm.
concept what we have right now is a localized lockdown. You only
Mhm.
you pag merong outbreak sa isang barangay, yun ang ila-lockdown natin. So
Okay.
people in Metro Manila, people in Quezon City, Caloocan, they're not under lockdown. So they can move freely around,
Mhm.
but we appeal to the public, if you move outside of the inside, if you move inside the bubble, do it only for important purposes. Stay at home
Mhm.
na muna po tayo, help the government, and help yourself and your community and your family bring down these numbers. Because
Mhm.
nakita naman natin sito, we cannot deny anymore na critical levels na yung ating mga hospital at yung mga
Yeah.
isolation centers. So we are appealing to individual discipline and individual responsibility. Stay at home as much as possible.
Shouldn't that be the message instead? Na parang, kasi I'll be very honest with you, Yusek John, magkaibigan naman tayo, maski na ako, boss, hilo na. Kasi sasabihin sa akin ng senior citizen, Sito, 65 kami, hindi kami makalabas. Yung mga teenager, sir, 18 kami below, hindi kami makalabas. Tapos yung mga empleyado lang ang pwedeng lumabas. At least that's how most people understand it. Now, sabi mo kanina, some spas are open. I just read in the headline of the Philippine Star, pinasara ng IATF lahat ng mga spa, gyms,
Yeah.
etc. Kasi nga, para rin ma-restrict yung pagkakahawahan. Shouldn't the government simply just make a nationwide appeal? Kumbaga magsama-sama lahat ng mga kilalang mga artista, mga sikat, mga senador, magtulungan po tayo from this date to this date. Wala na muna pong labasan except yung talagang kailangang lumabas. Huwag na po tayo magdahilan, huwag na tumulong tayo. Kumbaga Korea did it, Japan did it, other nations did it during times of crisis, calling on on their citizens for patriotism to assist. Kasi parang sa ngayon, marami naman. Ako, nag-lockdown na ako dito sa Lipa, no? And I know friends who have locked themselves down in their houses and said, no way, bahay na lang kami kasi baka madali pa kami dyan sa COVID na yan. Isn't that possible, Yusek, na lahat ng mga yung local government, etc., just line up and call for a nationwide, let's all stay home for the Holy Week, etc., etc.
I think we've been doing that already, Sir Cito. No, I think a lot of people have already made that call. We've been as a matter of fact, we've been doing that even prior to this trouble
Yeah,
bubble.
yeah. I
So,
know you have. I know you have, Yusek John. I know the government has. Pero kumbaga parang unified call ba? Kasi I've always pointed out, wala pa ako nadidinig ng mga bishops na umaangat for national prayer. Yung mga Christian heads, hindi umaangat. Tapos sa mga politiko, yung parang to set aside yung blame game, hanapan ng trabaho, etc. Hinahanapan ng trabaho ang mga leaders but to just kind of a concerted nationwide national agreement for everyone to stay home kahit na 7 to 10 days lang.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. I hope makinig sa atin, hinig sa iyo, itong ating mga leaders, no? Na they should join us, no? Join everybody in a call na ngayong whole week, let's just use this time for reflection. Use this time for, anyway, ngayon naman, nakakapagtrabaho ang mga tao. Right now, people are going to work, they're going back to work. And kanya-kanya na silang decision if some will stay at home or not. Or
Yeah.
if kasi our call na naman to the private sector is work from home arrangement if possible. But you
Yeah.
know, obviously in factories, in the logistics, you cannot do work from home work there. So tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang trabaho. But next
Yeah.
week, given that next week is Holy Week, let's just stay at home and use this time to reflect and to do what we're supposed to do during the Holy Week, not to go to the beach, but to reflect on the suffering of Jesus Christ.
Well, Yusek John, we're all hoping that after 2 weeks or after the Holy Week, according to Secretary Roque, sana man lang daw makabawas tayo ng 25% from our high number of cases. From the 7,800 plus cases, mabawasan daw ng 25%. But the Okta Research Group, hindi naman po sila kontrabida, no? Hindi nila kinokontra, pero sinasabi nila based on what's happening, based on the numbers and the trend, baka 2 weeks won't be enough. What happens if we don't hit the aspiration of 25% reduction? What if the cases continue? Kasi not to be sarcastic or critical, I pointed out in my column today that what the government has called as a travel bubble is essentially not a bubble. Kasi sa basketball, ang bubble, lahat kayo i-screen, i-test, at lahat kayo i-clear, pati yung pasilidad, sisiguraduhin na walang sakit doon sa bubble. Pero yung ginagawa natin ngayon, aquarium. Lahat tayo isda sa isang aquarium, hindi natin alam kung sino ang may sakit. Paano kung after 2 weeks or after the Holy Week, patay-patay tayo, mataas pa rin yung mga kaso? What happens then?
Okay. Ganito, Sir Cito, no? After the Holy Week, we will be implementing the Safety Seal Certification Program. The Safety Seal Certification Program is authorized by an IATF resolution. Lahat ng business establishments, buildings, government offices will be inspected for compliance to minimum health standards. Meaning, if the establishment has proper ventilation, if it has disinfection facilities, temperature checks and all of that, and they have all the systems in place, lalagyan po ng sticker to inform the public that this establishment has passed through stringent inspections. So it's mandatory inspection, but it doesn't mean that if the establishment doesn't pass, hindi na siya mag-ooperate. No, we will just put a sticker so that people know to patronize this establishment because that establishment complied with the health standards. Now, to the question of will the 2 weeks be enough? We hope it's going to be enough. And we hope that what we're doing now is sufficient for us to lower down cases. And I'm confident that it will, because a lot of people have already decided to stay at home. A lot of offices, even my own office, already stopped operations muna for the next 2 weeks. Okay, and I know of a lot of people who have done the same. Like ikaw, you're now there in Lipa. So I think all that we're doing will have a positive impact. How positive, we do not know. So I think what's controlling here, Sir Cito, is the healthcare system, because the IATF has been criticized so much na wala daw mga medical experts, wala daw ganito. It's because what people see are the meetings that are held in front of the president. So when the president with the cabinet members, that's what they think is an IATF meeting. That is not technically an IATF meeting. That is an IATF report to the president, where the senior cabinet members advise the president of what has happened and seek his guidance and approval for the actions of the IATF. Because all of these people are alter egos of the president, and they must make regular reports. Behind the scenes, we are working with so many medical experts In fact, there's the NITAG, there's the
Mhm.
HPAC, there's the, and you know all of them, no? All of these doctors.
Marami kayong ano, but just so I can support what you're saying, ladies and gentlemen, yung sinasabi ni Yusek Malaya, totoo po yun. Kasi dito sa agenda, we have interviewed many doctors who are actually consultants or consulted by the IATF. Nando si Ted Herbosa,
Yes,
nando doon si Rodan, sa ano yun, San Lazaro ba yun, si Dr.
and
Rodante,
yeah,
and
si,
said, and even the one in the genome, genome center, Dr. Salama ba? Wala,
Urbana,
pasensya. Yeah. And anyway,
Urbana.
uh,
Oo.
ang hirap pag puyat na matching eh. Uh, in any case, go ahead, Yusek John.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just want people to understand na totoo yung sinasabi mo.
there's a lot of them. I can read their names, no, for ano, anyway,
Mm.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
They are part of whenever I attend meetings of the IATF or the National Task Force, because these are two things. The IATF is the policy level, and the National Task Force is the operational level. And the National Task Force has a lot of task groups. There are a lot of medical personnel there, medical experts who are members, not just advising. They are members, and they have a voice, no, here. So what I'm saying, Sir Cito, is that we listen to the medical experts because we need a robust um, healthcare system.
Mhm.
So my personal opinion would be, if the healthcare system can no longer take the number of patients coming in, because that would depend on the percentage of critical and severe COVID.
Mm.
If we have already, if we don't have enough ICU facilities anymore, if we don't have enough ventilators, or we don't have enough medicines, or we don't, or our healthcare workers are getting sick, that's the time that we may maybe consider a hard lockdown. But right now, we are confident, hopeful, and praying that
Yeah.
itong NCR plus bubble would be enough, because I think this is a good compromise between our economy and the healthcare system and
Mhm.
the COVID spread. But at the end of the day, alam naman natin that a robust economy also depends on a healthy community. So, pag puno na yung mga ospital natin and they cannot accommodate anymore, we will have to prioritize the health and just worry about our economy later.
Okay. We're down to our last 2 minutes before I ask you my last question. Last two questions, Yusek John. Yung pong doctor yung in charge ng Philippine Genome Center, si Doktora Cynthia Saloma. And yung isa po sa mga magaling na kinoconsult din ng IATF, si Ronjin Solante,
Yeah.
kasama po yung si Dr. Ted Herbosa, and of course others, no? Pati na yung lagi yung nakakabangga ngayon na dati yung best friend si Dr. Ay nako, mamaya na nga pero kasi maubusan daw ako ng oras. Sir, huhulihin po ba mga pare na mag-hold ng mass? Archdiocese of Manila approved 10% in masses. This is against the IATF resolution.
Okay. So, Sir Cito, no, Dr. Solante, Dr. Gloriani, Dr. Ong
Hmm.
Lim, Dr. Alejandria, Dr. Edsel Salvana, ang dami nito.
Yeah.
These
Oh.
are all medical experts who are part of the National Task Force and are even talking heads. No, they speak
Mm-hmm.
to explain, and when they speak, they are part of the process, so they know what they're talking about. So, doon naman
Okay.
sa tanong, um, right now we're still appealing to the members of the clergy, in particular yung lang naman na Archdiocese of Manila, if they can be consistent with the policies of the IATF, na 2 linggo lang naman po ito.
Mm-hmm.
Churches will not be closed, so people can still go inside and pray. Yun lang, religious services ang ayaw natin, because that partakes of a mass gathering and a public gathering, and we have very high cases. So in the meantime, yun na muna po ang pakiusap natin sa ating mga clergy. We are not yet in a position to say that they are violating it, no?
Mm-hmm.
just want to appeal
Okay.
to them first and hopefully resolve this matter through discussion and dialogue.
Okay, Yusek, my last question. Everyone is talking about the travel bubble, Metro Manila. Paano naman po yung outside Metro Manila? Because here in Lipa City, I understand medyo mataas na rin ang mga kaso. Nabalitaan ko kahapon, may tinayo na raw na checkpoint doon sa may bandang Malarayat. I heard that Malarayat Golf or basta yung Malarayat area sinara din daw, nag-lockdown din daw because of some cases. This is unconfirmed as far as I'm concerned. Nabanggit lang sa akin ng residente sa Malarayat. What about outside Metro Manila? What is the situation?
Well, we do have some spikes in cases in some parts of the country, but these are manageable by the local governments. Ang maganda naman kasi sa kanila is they can immediately localize the lockdowns in those areas. And the cases are not that high to merit a similar situation as in Metro Manila. Ang talagang isa pang dahilan, Sir Cito, why we have the NCR plus bubble is because we don't want the variants to spread further away, to spread outside of the bubble, and overwhelm the healthcare system in the provinces. Alam naman natin, hindi ka ganun kadami ang ospital sa labas ng Metro Manila. So that is one of the things that we don't want to happen, that a super spreader coming from Manila will go to the provinces. So the situation in the provinces are manageable. They are being well taken care of by their respective LGUs and the regional IATF. And the regional IATF also has the necessary authority. The LGUs, for example, can impose RT-PCR testing if they so desire, just for a limited period of time while we still have this problem. So I think they have all the powers and resources at their disposal to arrest whatever spikes there may be in the provinces.
Okay, well, I'll have to end it at that, Yusek John. And please give my prayers and warm regards to Secretary Anyo. I hope that he recovers quickly and that the Lord will watch over his family. Alam kong struggle yung pinagdaanan ni Secretary, pero sana naman ay gumaling na siya ng mabilisan. Thank you very much, Yusek John.
Yes, maraming salamat po. I will relay your greetings to Secretary Anyo. Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG. And yun po, no, kung kayo po ay madasaling tao, ako kaninang madaling araw, hindi ko nga kakilala yung tao, biglang napasok sa isip ko, siguro bulong ng anghel. Sabi ko, Lord, pakibantayan na itong tao, blah, 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 blah. Yung baga, pagdasal natin. And I hope that I'm asking that we send up our prayers for Secretary Anyo's full and speedy recovery. Kasi yan naman kasi sinabi sa'yo, Secretary Anyo, ikot ka ng ikot. Ayan, ilang beses ka tuloy na COVID. Anyway, we will go for a quick break. And when we come back, we will interview the man who is in the center of the criticism universe, Mayor Alfred Romualdez of Tacloban City, here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250 or through facebook.com/one newsph, as well as on YouTube, and brought to you. Dito po, ako po ay nasa Lipa City, Batangas, kung saan akala ba ninyo, some are envious. So, Cito, you're so lucky you're in the farm, blah, blah. We are not moving out because there are also many cases in Lipa. And yan po, no? Kasi dito mahilig yung, mga tao hardworking eh. Pupunta ng Manila, maghahanap buhay, babalik dito, may pasalubong. COVID-19. Ayan po, kanya si Mayor Africa dito, palagay ko, namuti na buhok. In any case, speaking of mayors, okay, let's go to the mayor in the center of the universe of criticism, Alfred Romualdez. Good morning, Alfred. Mayor.
Good morning po. Sir Cito. Good morning to our viewers.
Little did I realize that after you were making kwento about your problem and solution with the vaccines, that you would be in the center of this criticism universe. Pakikwento na lang sa ating viewers, because no less than 2 cabinet members have said they will have you investigated by the DILG. At least 2 high-ranking officers of the DOH said that you jumped the line and that you should be penalized, etc., etc.
Okay, first of all, these vaccines arrived in our city about 3 weeks ago. And what we were looking at here is that I was happy that dumating na itong mga vaccines na to and people are gonna get vaccinated. But unfortunately, about 3 days ago, I saw it on TV, naka-headline doon na yung mga hindi nagpa-vaccine, hindi nagpa-vaccinate, all itong mga unused, isosoli sa NCR. So I was wondering, because before they sent those vaccines, nagbigay ng listahan. So ano nangyari? Bakit hindi na-vaccine itong mga tao natin? We have like almost 50% of that going back to NCR. I'm worried because every time that there is a outbreak in NCR, it takes 2 to 3 weeks, and then dito, nagkakaroon na rin ng outbreak. So I investigated, and I found out even in our city hospital alone, in Tacloban City Hospital, there were supposed to be 160 recipients, and only 85 availed of it. And about 50% are scared. Doctors and nurses, sabi lang, mag-iintay na muna daw sila. Pagkatapos, ang susunod na tanong, laging tinatanong, Mayor, ikaw, kailan ka magpapabaksin? Sabi ko, hindi ako priority, mag-iintay muna rin ako kung kailan ang panahon namin. So, ang nangyari naman nito, the next priority was the city health officers, the city health people, and nakita ko, only 300 out of more than 1,000 na dapat bakunahan, 350 pa lang. So sinabihan ako, Mayor, tomorrow is the last day. So sabi ko, what is happening here? Bakit ayaw magpabakuna ng mga doktor at saka mga nurses, mga health officers natin? Sabi, natatakot sila. In fact, the joke was, Mayor, sasabay na lang kami sa'yo. Kailangan ka ba mauna? So sinabi ko, and I apologize to the DI agent, to the DOH. I did not ask permission because I was worried na ibabalik na kagad yan. And I only had 1 day to do it. So, sabi ko, sige, bakunahan nyo na nga ako para yung pinaka-kinakatakutan nilang vaccine, yun na ibigay nyo sa akin para naman na matulak ko naman itong lahat. Cito, it jumped from 350 yesterday. We are able to they were just waiting. So sabi ko, there's really a problem sa programa nila ng vaccination. Kailangan ayusin natin to. In fact, one of the problems of NCR, that's why they cannot really totally lock that, because they're always concerned about the economy, and I understand that. And we should have a strategy also, which we do here in Tacloban. Dapat every LGU, lalo na pag highly urbanized city, which are the economic power blocks in every region, should be consulted. Because, tingnan mo, kung hindi marami yung vaccine natin, pagkatapos we will vaccinate at random or everybody who's a senior citizen, everyone who has comorbidity, But let's look at also the strategic uh, sectors that we need to support. Like for example, you want to get the economy going and moving. What happens to the bank people, the bank tellers? We have banks closing here because they get infected. It affects the economy, yung transport
Mhm.
group. Marami sunod-sunod. But it still goes back to say now, how can we convince our people that, this vaccine is good for you, this vaccine, will be effective, and, it's important that we get it para maayos natin itong pandemic. Ako nga, Sito, sinasabi, sa totoo nga lang, even my doctors in Manila did not want me to get it. And then I
Yeah,
asked them,
I remember you told me. I remember you told me a month ago, and I'm sorry that I didn't ask your permission to divulge this. But sinabi mo sa akin, pare, hindi ako magpapabaksin na yan. Tignan ko na muna kung anong mangyari. Those were your exact words about a month ago.
exactly. But what I saw here, kawawa naman itong mga tao na to, kung makita natin, what if they decide later on when the vaccines are no longer here, that, kailangan pa pala magbakuna. So it's really a problem. That's why I saw that, dapat ang inano natin programa na to na because there was so much bad publicity about these vaccines na maraming
Mm.
natakot. And, even myself, natakot ako. But when you look at it, hindi naman pwedeng ganito. Iba kasi sa outside NCR. Alam mo, these people have been working here in the city for what? Almost a year already. I mean, more than a year already. Lockdown and all that. And ako naman, as the mayor, mahirap naman yung double standard kasi iniisip ng mga tao, si mayor mag-iintay yan kasi mas gusto niya yung Moderna, mas gusto niya yung Pfizer o mas gusto niya yung Johnson and Johnson. Kami, sige, pagtyagaan na lang natin tong Sinovac pero baka delikado. So, I just thought to myself as a leader, I think dapat hindi tayo double standard. What's good for the people is good for me. And, and if I have to go through that, even against my doctor's orders, I will do it so that maging successful naman programa ng gobyerno. Dahil may
Okay.
kapan, alain mo, ibabalik yan. Imagine, the inconvenience that's gonna cause.
Yeah, Mayor Alfred, just so we're clear, okay, you mentioned that there were 160 health workers doon sa Tacloban City Hospital and supposed to be 1,000 health workers for the city. And ilan ang nagpabakuna after nakita nilang nabakunahan ka?
Almost 800, about 790.
790. For
Yes,
what about the doctors? Did they, after you were after seeing you vaccinated, did they follow suit?
doctors, nurses, all the frontliners.
Mhm. So, nung una, wala or kokonti lang, mali. Much like what happened in PGH. I think there were only like 10%. But then, and if I remember correctly, even USEC Jonathan Malaya found himself in a similar situation such as you. We interviewed him here and we had just interviewed him earlier. I remember him saying, actually, Sito, wala naman ako dun sa lineup na yun. Wala ako sa plano. Pero nung biglang, sir, baka gusto mo ikaw na magpabakuna because no one seemed to volunteer. He found himself having it done. Now, please clarify sa ating mga listeners, viewers, yung statement that if the vaccines were not utilized, they would have to be sent back to Metro Manila.
Yes, we saw that in the news. In fact, that was the order of DOH. In fact, no less than Secretary Duque mentioned that ibabalik nila sa NCR at gagamitin nila doon.
Mhm.
So
So,
that
what would have happened? What happens if you had not had yourself vaccinated and hindi nagamit yung bakuna and binalik sa Metro Manila? Paano na kayo? Will you go back to the bottom of the list?
In fact, the list is that we are waiting because it is IATF that makes that priority or prioritizes who, no? So we will just have to go back and we just keep waiting for them. Kung anong sasabihin nila. Ako naman, as the mayor here, I push for the government programs that, they give to us and I make sure that, it's successful. And, for me, that's really unsuccessful and hindi magandang turnout yan kung 50% lang ang nagpabakuna sa mga probinsya, sa mga region, bakit masyadong maraming binabalik? mahina ang programa ng gobyerno. You know, there is a lack now of credibility coming from this from DOH and probably the other departments on, you know, convincing the people na magpabakuna sila. Ilang beses na sinabi ng presidente yan, ang solusyon lang natin dito ay talagang yung bakuna, yan lang ang solusyon natin dito. Kaya tinutulak ko yan. And you know, and it's very hard because if we don't do that, alam mo, iba kasi, ang tingin sa mayor, alam mo, hindi sa pag-ano, we are directly accountable to the people.
Okay.
You know, appointed officials are accountable to the people they were appointed by. You know, we are accountable directly to the people. Alam mo, dito sa syudad, pag may problema sa traffic, mayor ang sinisisi. Pag may problema sa mga health workers na hindi maganda yung pamalakad, mayor ang sinisisi. Lahat yan eh. Kaya you can understand and you can see that pagdating sa mapanganib, kailangan mauna muna yung mayor. Pag nakita namin lumusot yung mayor o gumaling yung mayor o gumanda yung ano, then doon kami because they also rely, you know, they para kang padere that they lean on you. So, you know, we have to be the guinea pig and so be it, you know, that's the case, no? Kaya ako, I have to do it. But personally, kung maganda yung programa sana nilang ganyan, we don't have to do that. I don't mind. And Cito, I want to clarify this, no? Because they were saying, I overtook the line to keep myself safe. You know, living a life of a mayor is never safe. It is even very difficult to get life insurance as a mayor. If they think a mere vaccination will keep me safe, that is totally ridiculous. Sabi. You know, araw-araw mapanganib ang buhay, lalo na ng city mayor. Dami-dami natin. The balancing act between the economy and, you know, our healthcare system, you know, how to get things going. May ASF pa tayo na problema dito. And, you know, ang dami-daming problema natin inaayos eh. And, you know, I don't want to say this, but actually, being accountable is being a frontliner. And you have to attend. Ilang beses na nga ako, muntik tinamaan. Ilang secretary pumunta dito. I couldn't meet with them because na-close contact ako. You know? So, people rely on, you know, and see whether are you going to do it or para bang scam. I mean, you know, iniisip nila, sige, para bang sugod mga sundalo pagkatapos ikaw mahuhuli. Di ba? You know, pwede yan sa PNP, pwede yan sa mga general, sa military, kasi susunod talaga yung mga sundalo. Pero in a civilian government, they also look up to you. Kaya leader ka eh. Kaya you are also a influencer. What good are you as a mayor if you're not an influencer? So these are...
Yeah. So, has the DILG contacted you, reached out to you, or Malacanang? Kasi medyo, magkaibigan tayo eh, friendship kita. So medyo kahapon eh, may ilang tao na kung malapit-lapit lang sa akin, baka nabatukan ko yung parang magtanong muna kayo bago kayo sumatsat. Has anyone actually bothered to ask you the details of why you had to do that? And of course, I mean, rules are rules, Mayor. You know, technically, you broke the rule. You explained why you had to break the rule. But did anyone even bother to call you first before they shut their mouths off to the media?
First of all, I don't think I broke the rule, no? Because the vaccines were here much, much earlier. And it got to the point na sobrang dami ang hindi magagamit at ibabalik. So, what happens? Tapos na, bale yung health workers, tapos na lahat yan. Now, if you talk of comorbidity, you know, pareho tayo atang may na-angioplasty na, you know, may comorbidity tayo. Okay, I'm not yet a senior citizen, but in a few months, I will be. But more so, you know, that's why I did that, is to convince everybody, in spite of the risk, in spite of, you know, the challenges that I'm faced with, I did it para sila naman ay talagang magpabakuna na. Because I believe that that is really, you know, the best solution to, you know, to tingnan mo natin yung ibang mga bansa, iba bumalik na sa dati. At saka alam mo, this is something na natatawa ko eh. Because there's a network that featured President Biden as the first one who get vaccinated in the United States in order he can influence his people. Pagkatapos, mayor, I'm not even the first one. I'm doing it because maraming ayaw magpabakuna and yet, you know, I'm slaughtered. You know, they say this. But, you know, kaya sabi ko, let's put things in proper perspective. Because it's not to save myself. People know me here. I'm the last one when it comes to do things like that. Akong unang humaharap sa mga challenges. Akong unang humaharap sa mga panganib para yung mga tao naman ay mag-guide sila at mabigyan sila naman ng konting inspirasyon naman na tumuloy at gawin ito. Kasi mahirap talaga, nakakatakot yan. Maraming hinihimatay dyan sa vaccination na yan. Maraming takot sa cryom. Maraming hina-high blood. Bumisita ko, nakita ko maraming hina-high blood, natatakot, pinapaypayan muna kasi ninenervyos sila. And because I'm asking also the media to put things in proper perspective. Tulungan natin. Itong mga vaccine, yes, there are negative side effects to that, but still again, we really need that. And I'm just preparing that hindi ako maubusan ng tao pagdating sa situation na wherein, our cases will rise in Tacloban at wala na ako matawag ng mga tao because takot na lahat sila. And, my worry is, if that happens, then we will really have a hard time because we have so many challenges now. We have food security. We have a problem with ASF. We have a problem now with our healthcare system. It's a threat more than a year na. I have a problem also with the economy because we're also the gateway. Tingnan mo Cito, we're gateway to Eastern Visayas, nandito yung airport. We have 7 hospitals here. Up to now, GCQ kami. More than 7-8 months GCQ. Na MGCQ kami, less than a month lang eh. Pagkatapos na GCQ kami, hanggang ngayon GCQ pa kami. Masasabi mo ba, lahat ng Taclobanon dito, I'm speaking for the government and the private, we are all frontliners here. Many people that enter the region pass through Tacloban City. And people here are exposed. And at the same time, it is also the heart and the power plant of our economy in the region. And and this is a difficult balancing act that I have to do every day. And ako, nakikiusap lang. But I also apologize to the DILG and DOH for not asking permission and going ahead with it because I was just running after time. Yun lang po. Isa pang issue na gusto ko i-clarify dyan. Wala akong mask noon. Meron akong face mask, pinatanggal ang city health officer ko kasi nung binakunahan, habang binabakuna, tinitignan yung lips ko kung magbu-blue daw because they were worried about my intake. And they were looking at my signs. And I said, okay, do that. That's fine. Kaya ito yung nangyari dyan. Alam mo, Sito, matatawa ka. Yung city health officer ko, hindi nga nagpabakuna, inintay niya ako eh. Habang inibigay ako, 2 oras, tinitingnan niya ako ng 1 oras, tinatanong niya, sir, how do you feel? Sir, tapos BP ng BP sa akin every 15 minutes. Sabi ko, I'm fine, I'm not gonna die. Sabi ko gano'n. After that, saka lang kumuha. Marami dito noon. Pati yung head ng city hospital ko, yun na rin ang nangyayari. Nanonood sila lahat. May problema sila na nakabahan sila. So they're watching me. If I wanted to do this backdoor, I wouldn't have asked to video it. That's why I video it, to put it out right away in Facebook and show the people, yes, we need this. And kaya ko naman ginawa yun. But my golly, it's not to go ahead of the line. Ang sama naman pakinggan yun to go ahead of the line. In fact, everybody already, yung mga prioritize nila, tapos na. Kaya nga isusoli eh. Doon ako kinabahan. Kasi isusoli nila. And I think, it's important. And, for leaders, senators, governors, all of that, kung anong ino-offer natin sa tao, yun din ang kunin natin. Huwag natin sabihin sa kanila na, ito, Sinovac kayo, made na, hintayin namin muna yung Moderna, hintayin namin yung hindi dapat pare-pareho tayo. Kung tao rin naman, pare-pareho, dapat pare-pareho tayo.
Well, I'll have to close it at that, Mayor. Mukhang you covered everything. And siguro, pag may nag-imbestiga, pakitanong mo na rin, what about those PSGs na nabakunahan? Banggit mo na rin yun sa iyong investigation kasi may mga kaibigan din tayong nakakapansin yan. They're going after a mayor but they did not go after the PSG. So apparently there are so many rules in this country. It depends who's interpreting them, authorities or the bubble gang. Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. Have a good day, Mayor.
Thank you. And I apologize also to everyone, for causing this because it was lack of time na lang sa nangyari. But I hope, it will also serve as an example that other leaders out there, gawin nyo yan para naman lumakas ang loob ng mga tao nyo. para
Okay,
naman lahat
thank you.
mapunahan. Salamat
Okay,
po.
thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Alfred Romualdez. And at this point of the program, we have a netizen report.
Last week, we asked our netizens if they are satisfied with the pace of vaccination in the country. Jo Yap Ching says she is. She explains that inoculation must be done cautiously to ensure the safety of vaccine recipients. Edgy Anasaris is on the other side of the fence. He thinks that inoculation is moving at a slow pace. Also last week, we also met Isambayan, a coalition that aims to field a unified opposition slate in 2022. One of its leaders, former Justice Antonio Carpio, said that the current administration is incompetent. Cel Hines counters that, saying that the present government is more than enough and highly competent to govern the nation. Neil Teves Estrao says negative criticisms mostly comes from the opposition, but according to him, the people have said that the president is doing well. On the other hand, Matayano Onchanco agrees with former Justice Carpio. He says in his years in office, President Duterte has not done anything to improve the country. Mariano adds, Duterte failed miserably. Same sentiments for Reclama, who says that the administration's incompetence became more prevalent during this pandemic, in such a way that no amount of PR stunts can cover.
Okay, that's a netizen report there, and we've come to the end of the program. Please take care of yourselves, wear your mask, wash your hands, socially distance, and limit your movement. And kung kaya naman po ninyo, stock up na kayo and stay home for the Holy Week. And let's all pray. Let's all pray for our national leaders, our local leaders, and our community and our families that by God's grace and only by God's grace and mercy that we would be able to whittle down, reduce the COVID-19 cases, and that we could all look forward to better times. God bless all of you. Thank you for your prayers. And by the way, my sister Marisa is on the mend. Naopera na po siya. Natanggal na yung cyst, natanggal na yung mga kung ano yung dapat tanggalin at na-repair na. And thank you for praying for her. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.